and welcome everybody back for another race around Monza. This time, Tier 1. I'm taking over for Striff again, plagued by those internet issues. Joined for Tier 1, the usual commentator here, Mikkow. Good as me. How are you doing?
G'day everybody from the land down under. I'm doing very well, Un1corn. I hope you're having a wonderful evening over there in the wonderful UK. And I hope everyone's doing well in the chat as well. We should be getting underway very, very shortly. We had a crazy Tier 2 race just moments ago. So be sure to keep an eye on our YouTube channel for that one. But enough about Tier 2. And this is the big boys now. This is Tier 1. We have quite a sized amount of drivers on this grid tonight. And hopefully it's going to be just as exciting, just as intense as Tier 2 was.
Yeah, Tier 2 full wet throughout the entire thing, but here it is. For those who missed it, Monza, one of the most iconic and one of the fastest tracks as well on the F1 calendar. 11 turns, 5.7 kilometers here for Monza, and some of them very, very iconic. Looking forward in the calendar though, and next week after this one, round 15 now, Singapore. Next weekend, very tight and twisty circuit. Then we move on to Russia, Japan, the USA, Mexico, Brazil, rounding out on the 10th of December, the 17th of December, sorry, in Abu Dhabi. Now, the teams here in Tier 1. A few drivers I'm not too used to commentating on. We've got Brainstew and Becky B over at Mercedes. Then we have Alex Biddo and Brownie at the Scuderia. Then moving on to Red Bull, we've got Swifty and Microlander, Yoda and Rackety. Yoda, the current championship leader, over at McLaren. Remco Van Putten and BTFU in the Renault cars. Shenji and Freeware over at Alpha Tauri. Fubar and Sindaco in the Racing Points. Nigel and Jean in the Alfa Romeo. Henners and Astrodite. And then S-King and Ace. The two Williams drivers. Looking towards the standings then, it's Yoda in the top position at the top of the table, with Shenji and Freeware, the two Alpha Tauris, breathing down his neck in second and third. Alex Biddo is in fourth at the moment, and the last person to make it over 100 is Brainstew. Then behind him, Brownie, Nigel, S-King, Remco Van Putten and Astrodite round out the top 10. Jean in 11th, BTFU behind him, Sindaco, Microlander, Becky B, Rackety, Henners, Ace, Swifty and Fubar yet to score a point here. And with all that being said, I do believe we are finally ready to get going here. A few minutes late, but I think too bad. Mikkow, what are we looking like with the drivers here this evening?
Oh, it looks like we have quite a few drivers here. Because we are having some connection issues yet again. Gotta love it. So we got a bit more time to kill. So I just want to quickly talk about Monza. Monza, known as the Temple of Speed as well. Very, very fast circuit. It has the highest average speed on the F1 calendar. I do believe it is somewhere in the realm of about 170 kilometers, 180 kilometers an hour average speed. And that's, with the straights and with those very, very tight chicanes. Turn 1, we saw quite a lot of issues and quite a lot of battles heading into the Redifilio chicane. It can be quite challenging as well to navigate, especially in those first few laps. And then just the other iconic corners, you have two Lesmos, the Rogier chicanes of turns 4 and 5, the Curva Grande turn 3, and of course the famous Ascari chicane and the Parabolica curve. So lots of very, very famous corners around at this very high-speed circuit. It looks quite a simple circuit on paper, but it is anything but. And I'm sure that most of the drivers can agree with me. It's going to be very, very hard for these drivers to be able to hook that lap together because there is so little room for error, especially in those track limit hotspots, such as the Ascari chicane, where we saw lots of invalidations during qualifying and lots of warnings throughout the races gone by this week, Un1corn.
Yeah, and I think as well the variety of the corners you've got around here, and like you said, it looks simple on paper. When you're trying to go flat out through many of the sections of the track, including, you know, when to floor it out of Parabolica down that long start-finish straight. It is a fairly technical circuit for what looks like just a lot of straight lines interlaced with a few corners here and there, but the multiple chicanes, like you said, Parabolica, it's like a simple corner, but realistically the timing is a little bit tricky, as it does look like we are just about ready to get going here for Tier 1. And I do believe as well this is the first time that we've ever commentated anything together, Mikkow.
I do believe that is the case. Steam has played me with connection issues now, which is what you absolutely love to see. So I'll be trying to get in as quick as I can. But I always thought, just on a side note, that the Monza circuit looked like a sock. The way they remember it, the sock circuit.
Well, I guess that's sort of fitting, as it's in Italy, which many people call a boot. So, the sock inside the boot.
Well, there you go.
I feel like we've stumbled upon a little conspiracy there.
Or maybe that was the design for this circuit here. Oh, I will need an invite, Mr. Un1corn, if you do have a chance.
Well, everyone just loading in. You are offline on Steam at the moment, it would seem. But the lobby on invite only. We'll wait till we've loaded in and we should be able to do it through the pause menu, hopefully. But the game not being too kind to us, we are seeing a drive qualifying at the moment, it would seem. But let's
take a shot every time I say it would seem. You won't last this stream, but yeah, dry qualifying, that rings the music to my ears, and I'm sure it does for a lot of the drivers as well. They'll be going flat out for the fastest lap time possible to try and get that all-coveted pole position, and of course as well to avoid the carnage that is turn 1 on lap 1. That is the goal, at least. So we'll see how these drivers handle it. But I can't wait to see what times these guys can do. Tier 1 has historically been a very, very tight, very, very competitive grid. So I can't wait to see how close the times are going to be here at such a simple circuit, but yet such a technical circuit, like we were saying in the pre-show.
Yeah, and now we already have Rakety looking onto the mediums, so I don't think we've had a weather report just yet from any of the drivers, but judging by Rakety already toying with the mediums, we might be seeing at least a dry start to the race. That would be my estimation. The first one out on track does look like it is Henna's in that number 45, Haas coming down towards the Ascari chicane. And
I see that lots of drivers having connection issues already, but we'll see how long they keep up. Hopefully it isn't too long. But we'll wait and see. A lot of restart may have to be done, as there's a lot of people disconnecting now, actually. But nevertheless, we'll press on. We'll see how things go throughout the qualifying session, or at least the first half of it. Henna's about to start his first flying lap. Just going down the main straight. Heading towards the red affiliate chicane, and if you could take us through the rest of this lap, I'm just going to try and sort out these connection issues, since there seems to be a lot of them.
Well, it's Henry slamming it into the wall. It appears he's gotten word of the connection issues. Either way, he has absolutely binned his car. It'll be Richie then taking us through the rest of the track, at least for the time being, braking down into the second chicane, taking nice use of all of that inside curving through the second corner there. No invalidation though for the Williams driver. Coming through the first Lesmos, where you want to use all of the outside curving. Again, you can't get these right hand wheels. There's a little bit of a slide through the second Lesmos, but you've got to use all of the track here to get the most exit speed as you can to get this long run down the DRS straight into Ascari. Turns a little bit of a lock up. I think that might have been on the left front, as a little bit of a slide, almost spinning the car out of exit on Ascari, but still managing to keep it valid here in the Williams. Richie then flying down towards the final turn 11 as he leaves the session, and we are thrown straight on board with Remco Van Putten. The lobby does appear to be plagued with issues.
I think this lobby is beyond repair, Un1corn. I think we're gonna mean we're going to be forced into a lobby reset, which is super unfortunate for us. So we apologize for all the technical issues
That was
that have
tier
just
1.
plagued us. So yeah, can't wait for for all the technical issues to disappear, if that's ever going to happen. But anyway, we got more time to kill here, so you want to keep talking about how this track looks like a Sonic Unicorn, or shall we go on to something else?
I don't know if there's much more, but now that I've got a track map on the screen, looking at it here,
Well,
yeah,
you can see, because like
it
because
is.
the parabolic is like the toes, and then you have
Yeah.
the sole, of the foot, and then you have the Curva Grande is like your heel.
Yeah,
You love to see it.
it really is quite impressive, but Striff saying in the chat that it does appear to be a Steam issue, so fingers crossed that whatever the issue is, we can get everything back in order, we can get a new lobby up and running as soon as possible and bring you some Tier 1 racing action here. Tier 2, there was...
We want to see it around Monza. We really, really want to see it around Monza. You know, all the races so far this week. We had EU on Tuesday. We had the Oceanic Grid just earlier today, and Tier 1 as well, just around half an hour ago or so. And all three of them were really, really intense races. Lots of drama, lots of overtakes, lots of wheel-to-wheel battles. So Monza really lends itself as one of the more racy circuits, if you will. Definitely able to go side by side through a lot of the corners, but you still have to be super, super brave, especially through the two chicanes, or three chicanes, I guess. You can't really go side by side through Ascari. That would be a nightmare. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunities to pass here. Lots of slipstreaming, lots of overtakes, lots of use of that drag reduction system. And it's not called the Temple of Speed for nothing, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, and that DRS, we didn't see it at all about half an hour ago in the Tier 2 race. Plagued with rain throughout the entire thing, so... And that really does add just another level of ease to overtaking down towards Turn 1 and into the Ascari chicane as well, but it can just aid that overtake much easier as the new lobby is under construction, shall we say. But Monza is just so... There's so many long straights into interesting corners, both of them ending in a chicane, or in the case of the Lesmos, we've got those two fast right-handers where, again, you can sort of go side by side if both drivers know what they're doing.
Yeah, we saw it a fair bunch in the Tier 2 race, which was in the heavy rain. Spoilers, I'm sorry. But yeah, even in the heavy rain, you still had drivers going side by side through there. So it's certainly not impossible. And no, that's just how it can go sometimes. But all of the medium speed corners, like that being of Parabolica and Ascari, and the tight chicanes of the Redifilio and the Rogier chicanes, it's just, it can be quite difficult to pass. It looks like it'd be simple, but when you get caught in a DRS train, a slipstream train, which I'm sure that a lot of these drivers will be experiencing in this race if it remains dry like it was before, it can be very, very difficult. I speak from experience in the Oceanic race that when you're caught in one of those trains where everyone has that slipstream, everyone has that DRS, and that guy in front is using all of that battery and just has a tiny bit more pace than the drivers behind, like maybe no less than 2/10, it can be very, very hard to pass, and you just feel stuck. You feel trapped there because once you get the run with the DRS, it's either you're not far enough alongside to really go for a dive into turn 1, and using the DRS into Ascari is very, very sketchy as is.
Yeah, we saw it on Tuesday where Domi was actually playing a very tactical game in terms of that battery, managing it around Monza here. Obviously, the long straights. You know, there's a good few braking zones as well as Steam plaguing me with an issue now. But
I got you sorted there, buddy. Don't worry.
yeah, just a very good mind game from Domi, who's we've just seen have another good performance around Monza here, but fingers crossed Steam can reboot itself here for me, as it's
looks like Steam's playing magical connection something here.
Yeah, that it is. So certainly being very picky on who it decides to let race, which is not ideal. But we'll be trying to get you some racing action as soon as we can. And yeah, we're just waiting on just a couple more to join the session, and we should be good to go with the racing. So again, we apologize in the chat to all those in the chat for all of the delays. There's not really a whole lot we can do about it. It's just Steam being Steam and Codemasters being Codemasters, I suppose. But we are trying here, so just bear with us for a few more minutes as we try and get our main man, Mr. Un1corn, back in so he can stream this wonderful, wonderful race.
Yep, I do think everything is coming back into the game. Arbitrous it seems, but the game does appear to have relaunched itself.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there slowly but surely.
Alright, so there we are. We're back into the lobby. Am I the last of the arrivals?
That you are.
Well, better late than never. Again, thank you to everyone who's stayed. A second delay here, but we appreciate everyone being awesome and sticking around, waiting for us to get underway. And there we are, the lobby. 19 drivers, it would seem, ready and waiting to take on the Temple of Speed Monza.
And take it on they shall. Because when you're going at such high speeds, we saw some incidents at Spa and very high speed circuit as well last week. When you go off hard. Especially at the hot spots that we saw throughout races gone by, like the Lesmos and the Ascari chicane. When you go off, you have a heavy hit with the barriers, and that oftentimes spells race over in big, bold capital letters. But the countdown has started, Un1corn, and I think, and I hope, and I pray that this will be the last sort of connection issue that we experience for this race. Although that might be wishful thinking on my end.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Here we go, loading in for hopefully the last time here this evening. But we are good to go racing, I do believe. Or at least qualifying. Predating the racing, of course.
Well, it's a race to the flag, isn't it? You know, from starting your lap, so you're not wrong.
I'm not far off
These
the mark.
drivers will be trying to go. These drivers will be looking to go as fast as they can. So that's always the goal, right? In these qualifying sessions, I don't know of anyone who wants to start last on purpose, but we'll go into that. So it looks like there might be some other issues.
Well, judging on what we can see, it does look like we are having another dry qualifying. Whether we're going to see rain come into play in the race, that's yet to see. Someone is coming out of their garage. It does look like that's the Haas again. Henna's, I think, trying to get out on track first, and he's succeeded in doing so.
He always wants that free camera time. So Henna's first one out of the garage again for attempt number 2 of this race, and looks like Richie in the Williams will be following him. One of the newer drivers to the grid is the Williams driver, but he's shown quite strong performances so far this season, so I'm looking forward to see how he does. We have lots of other cars coming out on circuit as well. We have Remco van Putten there in the Renault outfit. We have Sindaco at his home race, mind you, out in that Racing Point. And we also have, I believe that is the AlphaTauri of Freeware following them, as well as Yoda in the McLaren. So those two very, very high up in the championship. I believe Freeware is currently sitting 3rd. But his teammate Shenjie, the main rival to Yoda, only 2 points separating them at the moment. And they are basically right behind each other on circuit. Shenjie being the AlphaTauri behind the McLaren. But Henna's looking like he's about to start the first flying lap of the session. So we'll see how he's able to do. Coming across the start-finish line now to start the first lap, with the 16 or so minutes remaining. Hard on the brakes just before the 100-meter board, down to the second gear. He goes through the very Rettifilio chicane. It's very, very important to get a very good exit. If you carry the speed all the way through 10 3 to curve around, they completely flatten these cars, and it's absolutely insane to see, going at 320 kilometers an hour. They're spotting that 100-meter board as your braking point for the Rogier chicane. Turns 4 and 5, just really trying to attack the curves as much as you can. Just after the 50, as the concrete starts on the left-hand side for the first of the Lesmos, and then the second of the Lesmos around the 50-meter board. Henry running a little bit wide though, and that's compromised its lap, but it's completely ruined it, that track map lighting up red. So I'm going to go on board here with Richie, who is the Williams behind, to finish off this lap around the temple of speed. It's the Ascari chicane, 5th gear, using all the curves, short shifting up to 6th to try and keep the car as stable as you can. It's very, very easy for the car to get unsettled. And there's one more corner left, Unicorn. That is the famous Parabolica. Ace Richie, right now trying to spot that braking point down through the gears, and it's important to try and get a good exit, and then hugging that right hand side for the shortest run to a line. What is the opening time going to be? It's going to be an 18.3, not too shabby from the Williams driver, and let's see if anyone can match it. Remco van Putten come across the line with a 1:18.8, so 5 tenths off between those two. Now the two AlphaTauris are going to be coming across the line. Freeware comes across with an 18.7. What's Shenjie going to be able to do? He goes on provisional pole with an 18.159, so that is a very, very strong time from the current runner-up in the championship. What does Yoda have in response? He's invalidated his first lap, Unicorn.
Yeah, these guys proving why Tier 1 is called just that, already smashing the Tier 2 pole time. Fraser in, I believe, a reserve capacity here at 1:18.7. His teammate, some idiot, has just gone 3rd fastest to 1:18.5, so pretty close in what is right now sort of the middle of the pack. But Shenjie's time, 2 tenths clear of his nearest rival, 4 tenths clear of 3rd at the moment. Jean, he's about to cross the line, but he is plagued by that infamous rev glitch, and he's going to come into the pit lane, not happy with his first attempt. Astrolite in the Haas.
No, it seemed that way. After that, he's also invalidated his lap time, so he's not going to be setting a lap on this occasion. I believe the next one to be completing a lap is the Red Bull Microlander as he makes his way through the second Lesbo as we speak, Unicorn.
Yeah, not too far behind him as well. Alex Biddo in the Ferrari, so these two next to set lap times. The Red Bull coming down into the Ascari chicane. Again, keeping it nice and clean and tidy. You don't want to unsettle the car through here. The curbs, they're slightly raised through that middle section of the chicane, and you don't want to spin that car. There are walls pretty close on the left-hand side, and the right-hand side, you can find yourself losing the wheel there if you're not careful. But it is the Red Bull rounding Parabolica, hugging that right-hand side, and it's going to be a 1:18.4 for the Red Bull, putting him in 3rd, but he's going to get dropped down as Alex Biddo crosses 2nd, a 1:18.2 coming out of the Ferrari camp. His teammate Brownie coming through Ascari right now, and he hasn't seemed to have done a short shift to keep that car as settled like you were saying, but on board with him, he does seem to still be going with this lap, absolutely flying down towards Parabolica. His teammate a 118.2, pole right now, 118.1 from Shenjay. Can Brownie put himself on top of this leaderboard? It's going to be a 118.8. So far the slowest lap time we've seen, and it's only 7/10 of provisional pole. BTFU is on a flyer as well in the Renault, coming down towards the second chicane as his teammate Remco appears to have improved, a 118.5 coming out of the other Renault.
Yeah, some very, very close times. It's important to note between Remco and the Summit in P6, it's 1 millisecond between those, and only a 10th between first and second, and another 10th between the second and third, and then 10th and a half between third and fourth. So these drivers are all super, super tight, all super, super fast. And we're going to see what BTFU is able to do. He gets a purple sector 2 apparently, but he cuts the first part of the Ascari chicane, and that has invalidated the lap time. So all that work goes out the window, and that's what these drivers do need to be careful of, because getting that invalidated lap time just throws away all of the work of putting the lap together up until that point. And Ascari is very, very hard to get right. You really need to just throw the car in there and just hope it sticks. But it was a 19.3 for the Renault regardless, so not the fastest lap time we've seen out there. But another thing to note is that Swifty was lost it just a couple minutes ago, and he is out of the session without setting a lap time, Unicorn, so he is going to be starting for the back of this grid regardless.
Yeah, not what you want to happen to you, especially so early on in the qualifying. He haven't even set a time, so he has no hopes of starting anywhere within the front runners. As Hennes again, he's invalidated his lap. We're on board with Yoda at the moment. Championship leader, can he put himself to the top of the current timing tower? He's coming down towards Parabolica, and it has been a very fast, a very composed lap for the McLaren driver as he comes down towards the line. It's not going to be pole, it's going to be a 118.6 that puts him 7th for the time being. His teammate Rackety flying as well as Nigel just goes 7th past. It's a 118.5 for the Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, these times super, super tight, Unicorn. Just one mistake in one of these corners might be the difference from pole and 6th. It is that tight. 4/10 is the gap between those two positions at the moment. A second is covering all the time setters at the moment, all the way down to P12 with Brownie. So these guys super, super competitive, super, super tight. You love to see it. BTFU seems to have aborted his lap again with a 1:28. Rackety coming across the line is 1:19.3, so he's slotting that McLaren into the 13th place for the time being. Let's see what laps everyone else is able to do, as Ace Ritchie coming across the line to take provisional pole by 0.02 of a second, Unicorn. That's a 1:18.13, and that Williams is looking very, very strong indeed.
Yeah, the two Alpha Tauris as well. Mikkow there flying. It's Freeway. He's going to be the first one to cross, and he's got a 3/10 improvement, so 1:18.4, so he goes into 4th place. What can Shenjay do though? He is 1.5 tenths up on his previous best time. He's surrounding Parabolica now, and he is going to cross with a blistering lap time. He's already set one provisional pole.
Is it a 17?
It is.
It is. It's a 1:17.964. Ladies and gentlemen, we have broken into the 1:17, so that is an exceptional lap from the Alpha Tauri there. So that's going to be quite hard to beat, but all these guys are capable of doing it. I've seen them do very, very quick times in the practice races before. So I'm very, very keen to see if any of these drivers have an answer. Ace Ritchie on a cooldown lap at the moment. So my eyes are going to be firmly fixed on this Ferrari making his way through the Curva Grande. That is Alex Bitto. He's currently on a flying lap, sitting in P3 with a 1:18.243. So he needs to find 3 and a bit tenths. He's half a tenth up, going through Sector 1, Unicorn. This is looking like a strong lap. He takes a lot of curb. A very, very nice line through the Rogier chicane. Let's see how he does into the first of the Lesmos, 4th gear. Just using that engine brake and trying to slow the car down to get that better exit. His teammate there is right in front of him in that second DRS, so could this be an attempt of a tow? I don't know. This could be a bit problematic for the Scuderia if Brownie doesn't get a move on. Through the Ascari chicane, Bitto's lost time through Sector 2, but Brownie giving him a bit of a slipstream. on his run down to Parabolica. Is it going to be enough, though? There's another car in the way. That'd be Chenjay. And there goes Alex Bitter heading through the Parabolica. He uses a lot of the track on the outside. Is that going to cost him time, Un1corn? This is going to be tight. What's the time going to be? It's an improvement, but it doesn't improve him a place. It's a 118.161. 300ths off Ace Ritchie at the moment, as he just gives his teammate there, Brownie, a nice little substitute as he starts his own lap.
Yeah, those Ferraris working together quite nicely. Microlander's had an issue, so he's not going to be improving. I'm interested to see whether Brownie can jump into the top 10 with that little bit of a toe he got off of Alex Bideau, but now flying himself through the first Lesmos now. He is, again, looking pretty strong. Using all of the exit curbing without invalidating it is the key around here to just try and maximize the entrance and exit speed. Such a high speed circuit, these long straights, you've got to get your car out as fast as possible to maximize your time, and Brownie is doing just that. He is 3.5 tenths up, Mikkow coming out of sector 2, but a bit wide out of Ascari. That could cost him here, that little bit of a wobble. What is the time going to be? He's now coming down towards Parabolica, and it's such a long right-hand corner. Here he comes. I don't think it's going to be provisional pole for the Ferrari, but here he comes down towards the line. It's a 118.4, a 4/10th improvement for Brownie, and he does jump into that top 10. He is now 7th on the leaderboard. Nigel's just started a flyer, as well as a few others. Sindarko right now. He's just invalidated his lap time for 12th place. Yoda as well, flying on a little bit of a worn set of tyres.
Yeah, lots of cars out on the circuit at the moment. I do believe Nigel is the next driver who will be finishing a flying lap, so let's ride on board with the Alfa Romeo driver. He does have a couple of race wins underneath his belt, but a little bit of a shaky portion of his mid-season Un1corn. This European season, it hasn't been too kind to the young Brit, but we'll see if he's able to turn that around as he's 2 tenths up almost as he makes his way into sector 3, the Ascari chicane. You can just see him attacking the curbs. He has to wrestle that car through the last part of it, turn 10, but it hasn't seemed to have cost him too much time. But we'll see how much that scrap has impacted the lap time as he makes his way into the final corner. The Parabolica 6th gear, just trying to get as much power as he can, using all the battery, using all the fuel. What's the time going to be, Un1corn? It's a 1:18.350. 5 milliseconds between him and Remco van Pruden on the 3rd row of the grid. But that is a very strong time nonetheless. And all these times are super close. Yoda coming across the line. He is only able to manage it for P7, only 300ths off Nigel's time that we just saw.
Yeah, that is on fairly worn mediums as his team, as his teammate takes a huge chunk out of turn 8 into Ascari, so that's an invalidation for Rackety there. But both Yoda and Remco is off into the grass outside the entrance to the second Lesmo, so a problem for the Renault here as Nigel blasts on by. It looks like Nigel might be going again here, Mickey. Still on ERS number 2 as he drops it. He is dropping the lap.
Oh, he's definitely on it. Not on it now. Not with a line through Ascari like that. But I think that spin from Remco is just a testament to how hard these drivers need to push just to get an extra 0.5 tenth, it would seem. No, all these times are super close. You have Chenjay there in the with a 17.9, which is an absolutely blistering lap. You know, a whole 1.5 almost 2 tenths between himself and Richie. They're also close to the 3 tenths actually, but maybe my maths is just wrong. I'm not entirely sure. But the rest of the grid, Un1corn, is absolutely bonkers tight. You have Ace Richie and Ditto in the 0.1s, then some idiot just into the 0.2s. Then Remco, Nigel, Yoda in the 0.3s, Freeware, Brownie, Microlander in the 0.4s, Fraser in the 0.5, and then the gap sort of starts to extend as you make your way further down the pecking order. But with 2 minutes left on the clock, so we'll have to call it the calm before the storm. All the drivers are trying to get themselves ready for that final run, but the driver who isn't getting ready for that final run and is just looking to go right now is Alex Bitter.
Well, yeah, he's just come off of an invalidated flying lap, so a little bit disappointing for the Spaniard. If this is his final run, and it probably will be, it's going to be on slightly worn tyres. You can see his teammate there, that's Brownie in the other Ferrari, just leading Alex, presumably getting ready to give him a little tow down out of Ascari towards Parabolica, and again, just trying to drag his teammate here into the front row, and if not provisional pole. You can see it on the timing tower right now. Gap to the leader for Alex Bido is just under 2/10. There's Parabolica, his teammate, getting out of the way here. He's going to get a tow down the start-finish straight. It's Alex Bido coming out of Parabolica. What is the time going to be? It's a 1:18.1, half a tenth, but it's good enough to improve to P2. There's Shenjie coming out the pit lane. We've already got Richie out on a flyer.
Yeah, Ace Richie, they're currently on an outlap, going through the first Lesmo, so this will be every driver's final run. Alex Bido, that's probably the best he can hope for, as there's probably not enough time for him to make it back to the pits and reset. That fuel light also on for the Ferrari, so that is his session completely over. You can only hope for P2 on this grid, but we'll see what the other drivers have left in store. My eyes looking towards Richie and Freeware, as well as Yoda as well. So all these drivers have it in them to set a very, very blistering lap time, but the question is, Un1corn, who puts the lap together? Who puts the lap together when the track is at its best? That track evolution, the whole surface is rubbered in, and the track is at its best. Let's see what these guys are able to do. Yellow flag through sector 3. I think that's just Alex Bido getting out of the way of some of the drivers, but Ace Richie now starting his final lap of the session. Un1corn, take us away.
Yeah, some idiot. He's looking pretty strong as he goes second with a 118 flat, but Richie already out of the first few corners. Like you said, he is definitely one to watch. Shenjie has just crossed the line to start his final flying lap of the session. We are finished here in qualifying. It is just these last few laps, and Richie half a tenth down on his previous best through sector 1, but that doesn't mean he can't improve elsewhere. Down towards the first Lesmos, the Williams absolutely flying right now down into Lesmos 2, looking to use all of the outside curving. You can see him absolutely maximizing the width of the track now. DRS flying down towards Ascari. He's got Freeware ahead of him. He's on a flyer as well, and he has gained back that time he lost, using as much of the entrance into Ascari as he can, managing to keep the car stable, managing to keep the lap valid as well. That's a very, very important point to note as well. Flying down towards Parabolica, what can the Williams do as well as Freeware ahead? Freeware currently on a 118.4, Richie on a 118.1. Freeware's going to cross the line. It doesn't look like he's improved. Richie though, a small improvement is not good enough for pole. It's so close.
Richie just missing out on the slimmest of margins at Un1corn. It is less than 100th between himself and Shenjie at the moment. 8 milliseconds separate the top two, but is Shenjie going to be able to improve on this time and cement his lead even further? He is. He's able to go a tenth faster. That's a 1 minute 17.8, and I think the only one that can really challenge him is his championship rival Un1corn. That is Yoda coming across the timing line right now. Is it going to be enough? He doesn't improve. So he is only going to be in P7 for this race. And ladies and gentlemen, that is your grid. And what a blistering lap time from Shenjie at 1 minute 17.8. They tried, Un1corn, they tried, but in the end it's Shenjie taking that pole position.
Yeah, indeed. Richie really got close there to Shenjie's time, but then Shenjie, adding salt to injury, just went and beat it himself where others couldn't, and the AlphaTauri a very, very dominant qualifying performance to put himself on the front row of this grid. There's a stray tyre there sitting out of the second Lesmos as we just wait for this session to round out and get into the race here. Shenjie on pole position, and I don't know if we've had a weather report, so right now qualifying dry, but it is Shenjie on pole, 1/10 ahead of Richie in second place, then some idiot in third, Alex Bido in fourth, Remco Van Putten in fifth, Nigel in sixth, Yoda championship leader down in seventh place here at Monza, Mike Rolanda in eighth, Freeware, Shenjie's teammate in ninth place, and Brownie rounds out the top 10, and everyone in the top 10 qualifying on source, everyone who qualified on soft. So, Mikkow, we're not going to see any difference in the top 10 in terms of tyre compound. Whether we'll see anyone start on anything different outside, or we could start in a wet race. We don't know. I don't think.
I do think it will be dry for the race, given just how fast those lap times were. I'm sure the drivers, if there was rain on the horizon, would have changed their setups. And yes, it does look like it is a very, very crystal clear conditions here at the Temple of Speed. So these drivers will be going flat out and just giving it everything they've got for the 27 laps around the Circuit de Monza. But the alternate strategy can be very, very powerful. So it's certainly something that the drivers in the back half of the grid can consider. We'll have to wait and see in just a few moments' time what the drivers do end up deciding to do for this opening stint of the race. But what a qualifying session that we saw. I think the top 10 was separated by 8/10, which isn't the tightest grid we've ever seen here in MRL, but it certainly is very, very tight. Nonetheless, 8/10 is not a lot of time, Un1corn. That is unbelievably close.
Yeah, so incredibly tight, and that's only going to get, like you were mentioning earlier, these DRS trains that Monza tends to breed. As we look, and only 5 of the drivers outside the top 10 opting for those mediums. Fraser in P11, he could be very dangerous if things go his way in terms of safety cars, etc. Boobar, BTFU, Swifty, there's a little gaggle of mediums there, and Astrodite in P19. He's starting on the mediums as well. But yeah, safety cars could play a role in this race, and we saw it in Tier 2. I'm sure it's very much possible we see it here as well. With Shenjay right now in the formation lap, really flooring it, trying to get as much heat into those tyres, not really weaving too much, but just gunning it in a straight line and tearing away. Maybe he thinks the lights have already gone out, but he wants to get to the start.
Well, you do need the tyre temperature around here, Un1corn. Those tyres, with all the long straights, they aren't really under load, right? They don't have those high-speed corners, those high-speed flowing S's. You have the Ascari chicane, and you have sort of the Lesmos and the Curva Grande and Parabolica, but that's about it. It's all just a straight line and slow-speed chicane, so those tyres aren't really getting used. They don't have that, that lateral force pushing on them, and they get cold. So I think that's what Chenjay's like, and he really wants to make sure that he has those tyres as warm as he possibly can for the start, because we all know that if your tyres are not in the optimal range off the start, you are going to lose positions, and you are going to lose positions very, very quickly in a grid like this, and very, very quickly at a track like Monza.
Yeah, and Rackety and Henna seem to have had a little bit of a collision somewhere, as they've just got teleported to the grid. One thing Shenjay's got to be worrying about, that his tyres aren't just cooling as he's sat here for a rather long time as we wait for those drivers behind him to join onto the grid. But here we are ready and waiting to get going here at Monza once again. Mikkow, take us through this race start as the lights start to go out.
Yeah, the 5 red lights are on, the cars are revving the engines. There's still this desync, timing desync that we absolutely love, but the lights out and away we go. Looks like a pretty decent start from most of the grid here. Chenjay getting a decent start, Ace Ritchie falling in behind, and then it's some idiot going side by side with Alex Bitto through into the first turn, first part of the first chicane. Here we go. Looks like it's pretty clean across. It's the 3 wide going back in the final points positions. That's Rackety, Sindaco, and Microlander having a lot of a scrap. Freeware's had a horrible run out of the chicane. Brownie's going up the inside of him for P7. He's looking at Nigel as well. This might be a double overtake for the Ferrari as he breaks super late into the first chicane. He completely cuts the corner. He's run into Nigel as well. That's Nigel, the Alfa Romeo, into the gravel trap there. And it seems that most of the drivers behind him have gotten away unscathed. Nigel down into 13th, but at the front, it is Chenjay away. 9/10 is the gap between himself and Ritchie. Alex Bitto getting away nice and well. Some idiot falling down a position. Remco Van Putten in 5th, Freeware in 6th, Brownie in 7th, Microlander in 8th. And these times are just super tight. Fraser very close to the back of the racing point of Sindaco, the home driver, the Italian there, sitting in P11 at the moment. He's looking to try and make something happen off this race start. But looks like everyone's gotten away cleanly except for Freebar and BTFU, who have fallen back off this grid. There seems to be a gap as well forming between Freeware and the top 5. Chenji, of course, with the fastest lap of the race so far, as this is the first lap, so he has retained the lead of this race as Nigel is going side by side with Fraser. The drag race is happening. Nigel just a little bit further ahead as they made their way to the brakes, so he's super late on the brakes. There's a little bit of contact there in the first chicane, but looks like everyone's able to keep things going nice and smoothly. And Freebar and BTFU have decided to pull into the pits and get off those mediums for some hards, it might seem, or just some different tires, and a new front wing unicorn.
Yeah, super interesting first lap. Yoda as well, he dropped a couple places down into that second chicane in the first lap, but now it's Hennes looking to capitalise. I think Fraser's had a bit of an issue, but it's a tap from the rear, I think. The Haas has just gone spinning through the first Lesmos. He's having to turn that car around as... I want to say, Jean, is there any damage on the Alfa Romeo if it was indeed the Alfa Romeo tapping the rear of Hennes there as Rakiti and Sindarko go toe-to-toe through Ascari, but like you said, I think there is damage on the front of this Alfa Romeo here. Yeah, he's missing that front left end plate there. So we might see him come in for an early box here as the front runners start setting fastest laps galore. DRS now enabled as well on the third lap. We'll see that come into play down towards Ascari in just a few moments time, but so far everything tight, mostly clean around the grid. Nigel's had an issue.
I know what could possibly have happened to Nigel. He's really falling back. Unicorn and Fraser is all over his gearbox. Fraser on those mediums, Nigel on those softs. He's looking around the outside of the Curva Grande, but it isn't really on for the Mercedes driver. So he will have to hold station for now, but not entirely sure what happened to Nigel there. He just has fallen back off of Rakiti in P11. Henna's out of this race very early on, which is really unfortunate for him. So all the Haas's hopes lie on Astrodite. But at the front of this grid, the DRS train is starting to form for these top 5. Remco Van Bruden being the rear of that one. And these guys just all holding station for now. No one really trying to go for any moves yet. And we have the first penalty of the race. Unicorn, that's Rakiti getting a 3-second time penalty as he makes his way through the Ascari chicane.
Yeah, taking a lot of that inside curving onto the entrance. I think we saw it doing qualifying as well. So, a bit unfortunate for the McLaren, but if he keeps doing that, he's going to pick himself up a lot of time penalties towards the end of this race. As Alex Biddo looks like he's looking at the inside of Richie. He's too far back to make the move down into turn 1 though, but the Spaniard really looking hungry for that second place. He wants to make the move. Mike Lander as well, not too far off the back of the other Ferrari, as Alex Biddo continues to just inch ever closer to the rear of the Williams. He's still going faster lap after lap, this time obviously aided a bit by DRS down the start-finish straight, but gaps on this grid pretty tight everywhere, and like we were saying, these DRS trains do tend to emerge around Monza, and emerge they have here, with Alex Biddo now failing to gain time on Richie because he's got DRS on the race leader. Shenjie started in first and has held on to it so far. It doesn't look like he wants to budge at all. Coming down into Ascari. And he's going to be...
Oh, that's it off. That's Alex Biddo. He's gone off at the Ascari chicane. And that is super unfortunate for the Scuderia, the Ferrari fans. You hate to see it. But that is the Ferrari just stopped there at the exit of Ascari. He has to wait for all of these cars to go past. And he's now down into 16th from third place with those 2 fastest laps. He was setting the pace. He was catching. He was pushing, but I think he just pushed a bit too hard, and now he has paid the ultimate price for it. He is now down in 16th as some idiot making a pass on Remco Van Bruden for that final podium place. With that spin, that means that they've fallen out of DRS range from the top 2. So let's see if some idiot is going to turn on the jets, use that battery, use that overtake to try his best to catch up to those lead 2. He certainly does have the pace, but it's whether if he can keep the consistency up, and more importantly, if Remco Van Bruden can stay with him with the aid of that DRS.
Yeah, well, this really benefits Richie. He can just sort of hang back and preserve on the rear of Shenjie. He doesn't have to use any ERS now to keep Alex Biddo at bay. He can just sit there, manage his time and wait until the opportune moment, and he could just really play the games that we saw Domi playing earlier this week with lead of this race. And it's an interesting situation to be in, for sure, as a lot of cars stuck in these DRS trains. No one really going for the move down into Ascari. Is Swifty going to be a bit more successful? He's looking for it, but he's not quite close enough as Yoda and Sindaku. Sindaku's dropping like a stone down towards Parabolica, and ahead of him we got Nigel and Rackety. Rackety getting past Nigel. Nigel going to look to try and hold it around the outside, but I think he's too far back already. And Sindaku's had some sort of issue. It doesn't look like there's any damage on the racing point, but he is down into 11th place now. He's going to look to try and get past Rackety, defends the inside from Nigel.
Oh, here
you
we
can
go,
see Sindaku follow through.
It's starting. Sindaku looking around the outside of turn 1, becomes the inside for the second part of the chicane. Rackety's still there though. This wheel to wheel as they make their way through the Curva Grande. Is it a Grande move from the racing point? They're still side by side, Un1corn. This is absolutely wonderful racing for the final point in this race. They make their way down towards the Rogier chicane. The McLaren out just a little bit more. He leaves the room, leaves as much room as he can, but that is a great defense from the McLaren. But Nigel is through, and now he's on to his teammate Yoda for this in this fight for P8. And just amazing driving between all of these guys on this grid at the moment. A few unfortunate incidents already arising, but for the most part, it's been very clean and very hard racing as Nigel using that DRS. He's closing, he's gaining on the back of that McLaren. He's done one of the McLarens dirty. Now he's going to try and do the other as he tries to make his way up towards the points, or further into the point positions, I should say. But there are battles happening all over this grid, Un1corn. I don't even know where to look at the moment.
Yeah, Fraser on the mediums. He looks like he might be coming to have a look. He's finally seems to be kicking it up a gear. He's just behind Rackety and Sindaku's battle for that final points position, but it looks like it's going to be Nigel looking up the inside of Yoda down towards turn 1. The Alfa Romeo making the move on the McLaren, and Sindaku and Rackety, they've exchanged as well. The other McLaren losing out, so both McLarens losing the place down towards turn 1. Fraser still biding his time in 12th. His tyres are going to kick in. It's also worth pointing out as well, Richie right now on the rear of Shenjie. He's caught up. The gap between them just 3/10 as I say that. Richie a little bit worse into the first Lesmo. That's going to cost him, but DRS still his friend, still on his side of the court. And he is really just benefiting from this. He's able to just keep going, but he's actually used more ERS than Shenjie. Mikkow, he's really seems to be struggling and managing that battery to stay with the AlphaTauri. And it just shows how quick Shenjie is right now around this track. Back down for the battle for 10th place. It's still Rackety sitting in 11th place, just outside of the points. Fraser looking at him behind, and the racing point of Sindaku just sandwiched between these two McLarens.
Yeah, the two McLarens are doing very well for himself. I'm sure Yoda, as the championship leader, wants to be doing a little bit better than P9 at the moment, but he fakes it into the pits. Sindaku almost goes for it, but there's a massive train in this fight for 9th position. Sindaku with that DRS, he's going to be cleanly past the McLaren of Yoda. Fraser unable to get super close. He's a bit late on the brakes and he's tapped. He's run into the back of Rackety, and that is an end plate gone for the Mercedes. That right end plate is completely off of that car, so he's going to definitely be struggling with the downforce as he makes his way towards the Rogier chicane, and especially in that dirty air as well, Un1corn. He's going to be really be struggling just to keep that car under control.
Well, there's never a good time to lose an end plate, but this is just as his tyres are about to start being so much faster than the soft tyres, who are going to have to start coming into the pit lane soon, Mikkow, and he's sort of throwing an opportunity away there with a little bit of a clumsy move down into turn 1. Unfortunate for the Mercedes driver there, but Brownie.
There's another train forming, Un1corn. That's right, it's Brownie in the other Ferrari. We saw his teammate have a really bad off at Ascari just a few laps prior, but this fight for 4th place at the moment is really spicing up between these 4 drivers. Remco Bentpruten leading that train, Brownie close behind, Freeware as well, and Microlander also within that DRS range, but there seems to be a move now. That's Brownie looking up the inside down the main straight. They bump wheels as well, Un1corn. to say, hey, I'm taking this position now. A big lockup as well from Brownie, but he gets the move done. Remco Van Putten now down into 5th place. Freeware now is the next target on the Remco hit list, and we'll see if he's able to make a move past, as well as Fraser getting past Rackety. Actually, no, they're still side by side, and Rackety's actually in the grass, and he's gone a horrible run through the Curva Grande at the exit of that first chicane. Jean's going to be looking around the outside to try and take that position as well, so Rackety losing out big time there. But also at the front of the grid as well, it's important to note that some idiot has joined the party in this battle for the win, Un1corn. This is absolutely incredible.
Well, yeah, Brownie may have been successful in getting a move done down turn 1, but we were on board with Richie down into turn 1, and he did a lockup, was side by side with Shenji, and Shenji just held the position. An excellent bit of defensive driving coming out of the Alpha Tauri camp, but like you said, that seems to have cost them some time. Some idiot really looking at them now. He's within that DRS range, and now he's just going to take over the role that Alex Biddo was playing just a few laps ago before his incident. And it's Shenji into the pits, as well as Remco Van Putten. So we are seeing the first people blink here. They're going to come on to a fresh set of tyres. Swifty looking at the rear of Rackety. Rackety not having a good lap. Swifty very wide though through Parabolica. This could open him up to the Haas of Astrolite behind him. The only Haas left in this race after a poor start from Hennes. But there it is.
Rackety too!
They're both looking like they're going to get Rackety.
He's squeezed on the inside, Un1corn. This is absolutely incredible racing between these guys. But there's a little bit of a tap as well. Astrolite getting a little bit of a slip out from the rear, and that might have compromised his run, but he's still too far ahead for Swifty to make anything of that. He had a look, Un1corn, but Rackety just squeezed him all the way to the grass, saying, no, this is my position, you have to wait. But yeah, interesting to note that Shenji did in fact pit, and he is on those fresh mediums now, so he is going for that undercut. We'll see what these other two leaders are able to do. That's Some Idiot and Richie, currently running in P1 and P2 in this race. Brownie unable to really catch up to them a whole lot, but he still has Freeware and Microlander for company. Freeware actually right on the cusp of that 1 second that you need for that drag reduction system, the rear wing opening in those dedicated straights, those dedicated zones. We get a little bit of extra top speed, and I'm sure that Some Idiot, oh actually no, it's just going to be Richie responding as Some Idiot goes around again. So let's see if the undercut has worked for Shenji and he's actually broken that DRS range.
Well, I'll tell you who else is going for the undercut, Mikkow. Alex Biddo came into the pit at the same time as Shenji. He didn't pit after that incident, so he stayed out, and he's going to try and just sort of use this undercut as an opportunity to just cut back into this race, try and get in to, you know, the point scoring positions and sort of rectify his race as Rackety down the inside into turn 1 on the Haas of Astrolite. Both of these drivers on 10 lap old tyres. The tyres though, different compounds. Rackety, his 10 lap old softs aren't going to be feeling as fresh as they were at the start of this race, that's for sure. So it's Astrolite looking at him again, coming down towards the second chicane, and he's up the inside, and he can brake a little bit later. He's got the increased traction, a little bit of a tap, and Rackety bumping over that inside curb, and that could leave him open here to Swifty, who's going to come up the inside into the first Lesbos, and this is where we're seeing it. This is where we're seeing these mediums come alive, and someone who's on fresh mediums, Shenji, just behind them. The undercut has worked for him. He is absolutely blasting away from Richie, and now DRS on these back markers. Well, they're not back markers, they're just on a slightly different strategy. He's not going to get past Rackety. He's going to go for it a bit late, and that's Rackety spinning. Shenji is going to be looked at very closely by the stewards, but he's not being looked at by them now. Closely looked by Richie, who's on the gearbox.
We have a virtual safety car, Un1corn, so that might have saved Shenji's skin a little bit. Richie had the run on him, just the slightest tap going through Ascari. I don't think Shenji just really expected Rackety to brake so early as he did, or as early as he did, I should say. And that slight tap was all it took. But this VSC has certainly worked wonders for those who did stay out the extra lap. It gives them an opportunity to pit and change their wing, like Yoda is doing at the moment at that cheaper pit stop. But might be I don't know how long this VSC is going to last. Some Idiot did stay out. Astro right now inheriting P2. Shenji getting a very, very nice run on Astrolite, and Swifty, he's now up into P2, has clear air ahead of him, and now it's on Richie to try and make his way through this traffic to try and stay with the net race leader.
Yeah, Shenji he's got on with it. He's had that incident, but he's not letting him get him down. Head down focus. He's still trying to just pull away, and he knows he needs to, just in case he does pick up a penalty for that incident with Rackety, who's now down in pretty much dead last. As Richie is going to look to try and get past Swifty. The aging mediums on the Red Bull doing absolutely no favours for Swifty there, and that's Richie up into P4 now, just in his hunt for Shenjie, who's 20 seconds behind some idiot who's come into the pits. He actually stayed out through that VSC, not choosing to come in. Fraser, interestingly enough, picked for fresh soft, so he thinks that
that's a long time to go on softs. And it's a long time to go on softs, but as Chenjie and Astrolite made their way down the pit straight, Richie looking to get the move done on the Haas as well. There you can see that some idiot just making his way out of the pits. He's lost the position all the way down into 5th place, so he now has to get through this traffic, as Sindako will set the new fastest lap of the race so far with a 1:21.570, as he is trying to make his way back into the points at his home race. Although look now, Un1corn, there's Swifty and some idiot going wheel to wheel, heading down into the Rogier chicane. That is some idiot now up into 4th place, and he is trying to use those mediums, use the better grip, the better traction, just to slingshot his way past these guys who haven't pit yet, who started on the mediums, and try and get his way back with those top 2. The DRS is now wide open for the Mercedes, and it's going to be an easy overtake. You can just see the speed difference from that Mercedes on the Haas. It's an absolute no contest, almost akin to the real-life Formula 1. And that is the Mercedes now up into the final podium place. And now it's a 1.6 second gap for him to chase down Ace Richie. That Williams in 2nd position.
Yeah, Remco Van Putten darting around on the rear of Swifty. He's looking to try and get past as well. These fresh mediums really doing wonders. Alex Biddo and Fraser have been having a battle, and it's Alex Biddo off through Ascari for the 2nd time this race. This time a little bit of a different incident though. As we go back on board with the leaders, he is going to be utterly gutted with how this race has gone. But it's Swifty being overtaken around the outside of turn 1. It's Remco out of turn 2. The fresh mediums paying off for him, and it's Brownie just behind. He's going to get the run on Swifty as well. Can Freeware join in the fun? Can he get past Swifty? He's a little bit too far back now. So it's back on with Brownie, who's still side by side with the Red Bull, just about inching ahead before the 2nd chicane. And Swifty losing out. You've got to feel for these runners on the aging mediums. They're not thinking it's time to come in for the softs just there, unlike Fraser, who really is just gonna have to stretch those tyres to the absolute max if he wants to finish these races, or he's banking on a 2nd safety car. But either way, a tall order for him. Here goes Freeware though, looking at the rear of Swifty. Is he gonna make the move down into the inside of the Ascari chicane entrance? He's not. He's gonna hold off. But all of these drivers,
It's a horrible run, horrible run for the AlphaTauri through the Ascari chicane. Now Microlander is right on his rear in this battle for what would be P4 in this race, as Astrolite, the cork in the bottle, just holding them all up. You can see on the offboard that they're all just really close to each other, and it's an absolute scrap. Remco Van Putten now on the right-hand side, getting past the Haas. Brownie on the left with the double DRS, using that overtake as well. He's going to try to make a double move into turn 1. He has that outside line, which becomes the inside. Remco leaves him the space, but he's unable to do it. Astrolite holding that position in 6th for the moment, but Microlander falling a bit behind. Freeware having a very nice defense on the sister team. But Astrolite losing 2 positions down that main straight. Those aging mediums are really not working their best at the moment. But I'm sure they aren't too many laps away from pitting for those very enticing fresh soft compound tires, Un1corn. But Freeware just still eyeing up this Haas in front. And this DRS train continues, as the gap between 1st and 2nd as well is now underneath that 1 second. Ace Richie pushing as hard as he can, losing the rear a bit at the exit of Ascari, but he's really pushing all he can to try and get into that 1 second gap. Has he done it enough into the detection zone? I think he has, Un1corn, so that battle for P1 is back on.
Yeah, and someone else, Swifty, I bet he's waiting for those fresh softs as well. He had an issue through turn 2 last time, but here we go, freeware. Looks like he's fixed his bad runs, and out of Parabolica, he's got an absolutely astonishing run on the Haas of Astronaut. We've got a yellow flag in sector 3. I think that's Jean, as Brownie has got past Remco, but it's Microlander looking up the inside of Astronaut down into turn 1. We've seen this a few times already, and Microlander, an absolutely astonishing move around the outside of the Haas. Now Astronaut and Swifty in 8th and 9th on those aging mediums. They are going to be wishing that they could get off of them, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them come in at the end of this. That Brownie and Remco going down into the second chicane. Very tight between the two of these drivers, and Richie's managed to stay within that DRS zone as Swifty and Astronaut. Swifty on the inside into Lesmus 1. A nice little move coming out ahead. He is directly racing Astronaut. So that's critical that he's got that one done, especially if they're going to come into the pits at the end of this lap. But it's still Remco looking at the rear of the Ferrari of Brownie. He's not going to get him down into Ascari, but is Astronaut going to have better luck on the Red Bull? No, he's not. He is, again, a little bit too far back. Interested to see whether they come into pit this lap. Up at the front, Richie still clinging on to the 1 second DRS range, but not quite being able to get the move done. He is far too far back, but I'm sure
One of these medium runners to Un1corn. Is Swifty going to pit? Yes, Swifty pulls the pin. So he goes for the undercut on Astronaut. Astronaut choosing to do the opposite. He stays out for another lap on 16 lap old medium tires. I don't know if that would have been the best decision, but he's going to try and do it anyway and see how well the undercut works, as Fraser further down on this grid on those softs is looking to get past Yoda in the battle for P11 in this race. So Yoda not having a great round at Monza thus far. His championship rival currently leading this race, but 5/10 is now the gap between Chenjay and Richie. Richie has been pushing super hard, and he's brought that gap down even further to 5/10, so he's also going to get that slipstream from the upper tower in front. We'll see if some idiot is able to push just as hard and make that deficit up within the next few laps or so, and that should be in a great battle to go along with this battle for P4 in this race as well, Un1corn.
Yeah, and Swifty on those fresh softs has come out right behind Alex Biddo, so he'll be looking to get past the Spaniard as quick as he possibly can, as the DRS train for P4 still continues, and some idiot really close to that DRS detention zone, but he's not going to get it this time around. But Swifty down towards Ascari before we move on to the leaders. Is he going to get the move done on Alex Biddo? I don't think he can. Alex Biddo with the DRS on the
someone's had an off.
Set.
That's Nigel. Nigel's had an off at Parabolica, and that car is firmly into the wall, similar to how Magnussen was this year in the real-life Italian GP. He's able to get that car going once again, thankfully, but that is this race basically over. We'll have to get a nice little wing change. Astrodite coming into the pits as well. Let's see how Swifty has done with the undercut. He has run into a little bit of traffic, but he's going to use that overtake and DRS as well, and he's clean past the pass of Astrodite. He is through. Fubar as well has had an off at the exit of Ascari. His car is completely totaled. That front left suspension completely destroyed. So that is his race over. You hate to see it, but yeah, that makes him the second retirement in this race, and Swifty is still right on the back of Alex Biddo. Alex Biddo pulling off to the left-hand side, trying to spot his braking point as he's stuck behind that Alfa Romeo of Jean as well. But Swifty trying to use the softs as best as he can, and he needs to get past Alex as soon as possible because Astrodite is catching at a rate of knots, and all these battles on circuit at the moment, Un1corn, are just too intense. We have this one for the lead, we have this one for P4, and we have this one for P9 as well.
Yeah, Swifty looking like he's going to get the move. He's not. Alex Biddo's putting in a stellar defensive drive to keep those fresh softs at bay. He's on 7 lap old mediums. You'd think Swifty, a fairly competent driver in himself, would be able to breeze past, but the Spaniard just absolutely declining every opportunity that Swifty gets, and is just absolutely putting on an absolute show right now. But it's Swifty surely now out of Parabolica with DRS down towards turn 1. Surely this is his time to shine. Alex Biddo still with DRS on the Alfa Romeo ahead though, and it looks like Swifty's just not going to have any run. Again, he's just stuck with Alex Biddo. Again, it's this DRS change that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, he just can't seem to find a way past. He can't get past because this Alfa Romeo is giving Alex Bitter that DRS, that drag reduction system that he needs to stay in front. And all the time that Swifty is getting held up by these two medium runners, Aphrodite is coming ever closer. That gap was about 2 seconds when he came out of the pits. It's now 8/10 between Swifty and Aphrodite. Swifty just hounding the back of this Ferrari. He's trying to get the run that he can, but he's super, super close. He's never been this close on any other previous attempt. Is he going to use that overtake? I don't think he is, but it looks like Alex Bitter just running less swing on that setup, and Swifty isn't able to get the run he needs. As a slight tap, but nothing availing from it. And at the front of the screen as well, Microlander and Freeway in this battle for 6th place. Un1corn, they're having an exchange as well. Microlander getting past the AlphaTauri into the Red Affilio chicane. But Freeway getting a much better exit as well. Un1corn, is it going to be enough? Microlander using a bit of that overtake to try and stay in front. And it looks like he's held that position for now. Is Freeway going to go for an aggressive dive into the Rogier chicane? No, he's not. So he's just going to hold station in P7. And these battles all over the grid are super, super intense. Alex Bitter and John going side by side into the Red Affiliate chicane now, as it's their turn to tango for the battle for P11. So bragging rights on offer here, but unfortunately no points as of yet. Alex Bitter is through, and Aphrodite also getting through on Swifty. And now Aphrodite looking around the outside of the Curva Grande on Jean. He's gotten past the Alfa Romeo. They're still side by side as they make their way through. There's a little bit of a tap, but Aphrodite using the better grip of those softs, he's able to get through, and now he is the one to attack the master of defense this race, it would seem, Alex Bitter.
Yeah, Aphrodite's really profited there. He's just absolutely come in and done what Swifty couldn't, and now Swifty's the one on the rear of Jean, and Jean, he's been without DRS for so long, has now got it, and again, Swifty's going to get a little bit stumped for what he can do to try and get past, but he's got such a good run that Ascari has the added amount of lifting and braking. Going to cost him here. He's using a bit of the ERS finally, and he is going to get the Alfa Romeo, or at least he's going to go side by side into Parabolica. We've seen people defend around the outside of this corner before, but it is Swifty now up into P3 at 13, sorry, and he might finally be able to go and hunt down the two guys ahead who look like they are poised to go side by side and battle down into turn one. Aphrodite on an absolute charge right now. He's not going to go for the move on Alex Bitter this lap. We've got about 6 remaining, and what a race it's been so far, but it's far from over. We've still got a good few laps of racing, and it's been action from start, and I'm sure it will be action to the finish as well.
Yeah, Remco Van Poot in this battle for 4th place. Within that half a second on the Ferrari in front, Brownie doing very, very well for himself. When his teammate has been struggling, he's now gone off twice, his teammate Alex Bitter at the Ascari chicane. But Brownie having a bit more of a quieter race, just trying to run his own race, do his own thing. But he has Remco Van Poot for company, and some idiot now as well in this battle for the lead has broken into that 1 second. He doesn't have DRS at the moment, but he is right on the cusp of Un1corn, and this fight for the lead with the 6 laps remaining is going to be absolutely incredible. I can just see it right now. If somebody can just use a bit more of that battery to catch up, he has quite a bit more than the other two in front of him. If he's just able to get that tiny bit closer, we are going to be having a massive, massive fight. And speaking of massive fights, it's Aphrodite and Alex Bitter in this battle for 11th place. They're going side by side down the main straight they go. It's a drag race between these two. Alex Bitter using all of the batteries down to 0%. Un1corn Swifty as well, trying to use this opportunity that Aphrodite has given him to try and pass Alex Bitter as well. But Aphrodite now through on the Ferrari. So now it's Swifty's turn to try yet again get past Alex Bitter.
Yeah, these guys have been going at it to the nail, and it's not going to finish anytime soon. Alex Bitter, he's not going to be happy that he's just been overtaken by Aphrodite, but even he in that Ferrari absolutely rapid those 11 lap old mediums, they're going to start just giving up on him soon, especially when compared to Aphrodite and Swifty's fresh softs. I think Alex Bitter is going to be hard pressed to keep the Red Bull behind him for the end of this race, and like you said, some idiot he's managed to bring himself into this DRS train for the lead of this race. Richie very close to the gearbox of Shenjay, and some idiot is going to be looking at this. He's had a little bit of a bad run though through the first chicane down through turns 1 and 2, and Remco, he's still looking at the back of Brownie, so I think we could see these guys. Like you said, Brownie's had a quiet race, but I think Remco might start kind of knocking on his door, making a bit of a racket, and waking Brownie up. Come on, you can't stay in your own race forever. I want that place just as much as you do.
But one driver who definitely wants to place is Yoda. He's gone up the inside of the Curva Grande, but Fraser trying to make the switchback. It isn't going to work. Yoda just has so much speed in that McLaren. I think on those 10-lap old softs, they are certainly starting to see the end of their life, Un1corn. But 3/10 is now the gap between Ace, Richie, and Shenjay. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the battle for the lead of this race. We are on lap 23 of 27, and Summit is right in it as well. Only 7.5 tenths behind him. Remco Verpoon as well in this battle for 4th is right on the back of this Ferrari. Brownie wanting to do well for the Scuderia at the Circuit de Monza. Of course, the Tifosi in full force here today. One of the Ferraris has disappointed, but the other has not thus far. Brownie just doing all that he can to try and keep Remco behind as Ace Richie now looking on the inside of Shenjay into the first chicane. This is lap 24 of 27, so we have only a few laps left of this race, and Shenjay has finally lost the lead of this race for the first time in this entire race. Ace Richie now trying to push as much as he can. He has used all of that battery, though, to try and make that move stick. As we have the yellow flag in sector 3, that's one of the Red Bulls off. That's Swifty. That's Swifty having it off at Parabolica. He is trying to get that car moving again, but this battle for the lead is still just too intense. Ace Richie now pulling 8 tenths. 8 tenths on Shenjay within the first half a lap. Is he really just hiding all that pace from the start and just wasn't able to completely show it because he didn't have that clean air? We're yet to find out. But that 7-tenth gap is certainly showing that Williams driver has a lot of pace in it. Some idiot, though, as well, showing that he is a force to be reckoned with. He is now within the 8 tenths of Shenjay still, using a bit of that overtake, and he has so much more battery compared to those two in front. If he's able to just burn a bit more of it, just get a bit more of the top speed, he'll be able to catch up as soon as you can say Monza.
Yeah, these guys, there's not many laps left now as Richie crosses to start lap 25, so including this one we have 3 laps of racing, and we got 3 races absolutely gunning for the lead of this race. And let's not forget Remco, he really has been knocking on Brownie's door. He has started big lunge up the inside. What a beautiful move from the Renault there. He tried to make it last time into the second chicane. He didn't make it as Jean's retired from the race. He's had an issue outside of Ascari. His teammate Nigel just passing him there. And you hate to see that so late in the race as well. He's done this entire campaign, and now just to end it 3 laps from the finish, that is not going to make him a happy driver at the end of this. But the battling at the front of this race, I'm sure if you tune onto the stream, the entertainment factor would take his mind straight off of things. Shenjay having a look up the inside into Ascari. He's not going to make that move. He was too far back. He doesn't want a repeat of what happened with Rackety earlier. Brownie might have a look at Remco. He's not going to make the move either. It's not really the most optimal spot on this track to make those moves. Alex Biddo on the rear of Astrolite.
The top 3 are separated by 6 tenths, Un1corn, between the 3 of them. The gap from first to third as we're starting the penultimate lap of this race. Shenjay having very, very low battery, but Richie does as well. Shenjay looking at that left-hand side, and it's submitting as well. It's 3 wide. It's 3 wide for the leaders. Going down into the first chicane, there's a bit of contact between Shenjay and some idiot, but Shenjay has made his way through. Richie getting the worst of that exchange. He's now down into third, and some idiot using that overtake, using that slipstream that he can. Shenjay very, very low on battery. He's looking around the outside of the Curva Grande. This is the battle for the lead, ladies and gentlemen. They're side by side. Some idiot has the inside line heading into turn 4, and the Mercedes is now in the lead of this race with 1.5 laps to go.
Mikkow, I'm going to just improve this so much for us. Strip in the chat is informing us that none of these guys have got penalties, so this is just a raw fight for that race win. They have got 1.5 laps to go, and it is literally anyone's race here. One of these 3 is going to take away the checkered flag first, but which one is it? Some idiot's tyres a little bit fresher, only 12 laps old compared to 15 and 14 for Shenji and Richie respectively. So has that late pit for the Mercedes benefited him here? Is it the tyre freshness and just the age of those behind him as his teammate, oh, not his teammate, sorry, but who is that? BTFU's retired. I think we're too late.
Having an issue. Yeah, BTFU's retired, but ladies and gentlemen, this is the final lap of this race. You can see some idiot there. The gap is currently 7 tenths. This is the last opportunity for these guys to try and make up some positions, but no one's going to try to make that dive into turn 1. But Ace Richie only 4 tenths behind Shenji. Is he able to get the exit that he needs? They're all very, very low on fuel. This is the final chance for these guys to try and take the race win. Some idiot with those fresher tires. I think you might be right, Un1corn. He's pulled that 8-tenth gap. Is this going to be another race win for the Mercedes, for some idiot? The gap's now 1.1. Shenji's fallen out of DRS range on the final lap of this race. The driver that has been leading this race for 25 or 24 of the 27 laps is now just outside of DRS, and that rear wing is not opening for the AlphaTauri. But Ace Richie, he has that DRS. He has a bit of battery to play with as well. Shenji only had 5% battery. Some idiot making his way cleanly through the Ascari chicane. None of them having penalties, but some idiot having a little bit of a wobble. But I don't think it's going to be enough. Shenji using all the speed that he has. These guys, none of them have penalties. There's a battle going on behind them as well. But some idiot now, out of nowhere, just swoops in, and he's going to cross the checkered flag. He's going to take the checkered flag here in Monza, and some idiot is your race winner here at Monza. Shenji, only good enough for Pizzo, and Ace Richie will round off the podium. We have a fight here between Brownie and Remco Van Pruden, but Remco Van Pruden has a whole bunch of penalties. Microlander will take that P5 slot. Remco Van Pruden down into 6th. Freeware will take home 7th place for the AlphaTauri squad. Sindako will take home P8 at his home race. Yoda P9, and Fraser will come across the line to take the final point in this race, taking those soft 15 laps, Un1corn. 15.
The fact that he's even finished that race there is absolutely incredible. He has done so well to take those tyres to him, but what a battle for P1. You got somebody at Shenji and Rich just exchanging over and over again. And let's not forget Brownie and Remco. Remco getting demoted on penalties behind Microlander, who comes home in P5. But wow, what a race that was. Tier 1 really putting on a show, showing what Monza can be like when we got that dry weather. There's just absolutely nothing. Those DRS changes. We saw Alex Biddo, Swift the Astronaut. They were all tangled up in one. We had Yoda and Fraser. They were battling, and Yoda coming out on top. I have a feeling that might have something to do with Fraser's tyre wear, but what a race. That was so good to watch, so entertaining, and well, what a race. Thank you to everyone who tuned in and was patient enough to wait for that. I think it was more than worth the wait that we had at the start, but wow, what a brilliant race. And there we are, some idiot taking the top spot of that podium.
Well deserved, well driven. Just what a race from all of these drivers here tonight. It was absolutely incredible. We had battles going on all down the field, and all of them were as intense as each other. But these top 3 really put on a show for us in these final few laps. Shenji, who had led the race almost from start to finish, just couldn't hold on to that win. And some idiot using those fresher tires, just not pitting under that virtual safety car, probably was the difference there. And he was just able to use that extra grip, that extra traction, and extra speed to take the win away from Shenji and Richie, who've been fighting all the way through this race. But that is some idiot, your winner today. Shenji in 2nd, Richie in 3rd, Brownie with a very, very strong result, all the way from 10th on the grid. He'd finish 4th here at Monza. The scooter, the Tifosi will be fairly happy with that result, I'm sure. Microlander in P5 for the Red Bull squad. Remco Van Pruden taking home P6 for Renault on penalties. A very, very close battle between him and Brownie for that P4 position, but unfortunately those 9 seconds of penalties bringing him down a slot. Freeware taking home P7 to assist his teammate in the Constructors' Championship. Sindako at his home race, coming from 12th to 8th to score some points for Racing Point as they try to make their way back into the Constructors' standings. Yoda having quite a disappointing race, I must say, for our former championship leader. He will finish the race in 9th, taking home 2 points. And Fraser with just some incredible tire management, able to save those tires just enough so they wouldn't pop. He will come across the line in 10th to take that final point in this race. Of course, well done to all these drivers who finished the race. Astrodite in P11, Swifty in P12, Alex Bitter in P13, Nigel in 14th, Rackety in 15th, and unfortunate for those who could not finish, BCFU, Jean, Fuba, and Henners, all unable to finish this campaign. But Un1corn, I'm sure you can agree with me, and I'm hoping the chatter does well as well, when I said that race was certainly worth the wait.
Well, judging by the excitement that everyone was expressing on those final few laps when we were on board with Shenjay, Samedian and Richie, I think that race was very well received, and it would be so interesting to know what would happen if, Shenjay hadn't have gone for that undercut. I think that really cost him towards the end, those tyres just wearing down compared to some idiot, like you said. That VSC, maybe not at the time, we didn't think it really saved him. He came out, I want to say like P5 behind Swifty, and we thought that traffic might hold him up, but he managed to carve his way through and took, like you said, a very well-deserved race win there for the American. And, wow, just what a race there. From Tier 1. But, wow. But thank you to everyone who tuned in. It was, worth the wait, like we said, I think, for the technical difficulties that we had at the beginning. But we ended it out here with a bang, and those three guys on the final lap. Any closing remarks, Mikkow, before we end out the stream here?
The only thing I have to say is be sure to tune in tomorrow at 8 p.m. The UTC, that is the British time zone, for the final race around Monza. It is, of course, going to be the club division, and if it's anything like the races that we've seen already this week, it is going to be a thriller. And also be sure to join us on Saturday as well for the next round in the Endurance Series, the 100% races at a track that is yet to be determined, and that will be released very, very soon. So look forward to that one. If you haven't already, you enjoyed the clean racing, enjoyed the hard racing. I don't think we've had such a close fight for the lead going onto the final lap. But that is just what these drivers are capable of. So if you're looking for some close, clean racing, then be sure to give us a follow here on Twitch. And also join our Discord as well. We're a loving community, a loving family, and we all just love some nice and hard racing. I think that's all from me, Un1corn. So if you want to say any last words, then we'll raid another member of this wonderful F1 community.
Yeah, that's up there, that race. I think, I don't know if Striff's in the chat still, but I reckon that can rival Club's Austrian race. Maybe not quite, but absolutely brilliant.
That was up there. That was up there,
he's
man.
in.
I'm here. Yeah, I've been here the whole time just listening, man. Yeah, that was a great race. So thanks to everybody who tuned in.
Yeah, so once again, thank you everyone. We're going to go ahead and raid someone, but as always, we're going to leave you with the brilliant Misfits outro, and we'll catch you tomorrow for the club division.